what I wanted to do to get back into some content was I wanted to just give some commentary on the art that I've released. And I'm going to do that for a while so that you can continue to get to know me. But also, I want to show you guys that I actually do respect the craft itself. This specific verse that I'm giving commentary on is the verse that I just released called Craft and Calling. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. I put a lot of time, thought, energy into everything that I do. And even though it's a snippet of something, it is jam-packed with substance. And so hopefully you will enjoy that as I enjoy a good brew. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. So the story behind Craft and Calling is I was thinking about tying up the album with a little bit of a bonus verse or something like that in there. And I was sitting on this beat that I purchased rights to from Tone Jones. I wanted to write something that was reflective of how I was feeling, but I also wanted to honor the craft of hip hop itself, like MCing, really giving bars. I've always valued that part of the genre. I've always valued that part of the art and the craft. I came into hip hop listening to Eminem. He was more in the delivery space and saying things that are edgy. And he had a few like wordplay things, but his thing was more lyrical structure and those sort of things. What really put me on to wordplay was, well, dudes like Jay-Z, but also the battle rap scene and also the mixtape rappers like Papoose and Cassidy and Lloyd Banks. Lloyd Banks was like a flash in the pan with G-Unit, but he had some analogies, really gangster analogies. But in the battle rap scene, you want to hear creativities with wordplay and stuff like that, listen to battle rap. And that's why I came up on, and I enjoy that. So there's several different influences as far as the craft is concerned, and I want to insert those influences. I want to insert the lyrical structure that I got from Eminem. I want to insert the quality of the bars and wordplay and things like that, as well as producing something that is substantial, that if you listen to and you pay attention to, it could actually change your perspective and paradigm and the way that you think so that you can live a life worth living. I want to be a proponent of freedom in everything that I do because I believe it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. And so when I represent Jesus, I want to make sure that at the forefront of everything I do, I'm pushing freedom. Freedom from bondage in any way, shape, or form. And bondage takes many different forms. We're going to talk about that in the podcast to come. So the first bar says, it's easy for me to forget the craft of it, but unless I can be here without hip hops, it's not likely for me to draft substance. So the wordplay, you hear craft, you hear hip hops, you hear draft, right? That's me inserting my creative nature, using something that I enjoy, like I enjoy hip hop. I enjoy good beer. I inserted that in the intro just to show like the playfulness that I can have with words. Now, before you come at my neck, yes, you're a Christian. Christians shouldn't drink alcohol, blah, 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 blah. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that we shouldn't drink alcohol. We shouldn't be drunk with wine. We shouldn't be drunk, intoxicated, and that affecting our sobriety. Mind you, I have lost track of how many drinks I've had as I socialize, and I've gotten out of it. I'm not going to pretend like I haven't. That's the risk that I was taking as I was drinking, and I need to get better at that. That doesn't mean that just happens every weekend. I can, on a handful of times, how many times I've gotten drunk in my whole life. I am 32, so it's not something that happens all the time for me. But I do enjoy a good craft beer. Thank you to my guys, ironically from recovery, who introduced me to the craft beer scene, and we enjoy a good beer. And so I wanted to incorporate something that I love. I take joy and take pleasure in. One of the gifts that God has given us in the world, many gifts to enjoy. Craft beer is one of them. But the parallel is, it's easy for me to forget the craft of it. Craft. I'm talking about hip hop as well as craft beer. It's easy for me to forget the craft of hip hop because my goal and my purpose in creating is to draft substance, because I know that the reason why I pick up the mic, the reason why I pick up the pen to write, the reason why I do anything in the production space is to draft substance. And so I express that tension between the craft of hip hop and the tension of drafting substance. And I wanted to introduce that tension right there in the forefront because there is always a tension in my spirit between craft and calling. And what I'm recognizing the more that I write is there really is an attention, and there's not a dichotomy. There's not this, I need to have my cake and eat it too. No, I believe that they go one and the same. Good art can reflect substantial messages, and I think the best art does. And so my pursuit is to merge my craft and calling in a skillful way so that people can appreciate it. Again, the line says, it's easy for me to forget the craft of it, but unless I can be here without hip hops, it's not likely for me to draft substance. So unless I can actually put pen to paper and draft something substantial, I'm not telling you anything that's going to change your mind, your perspective, your paradigm. So what the heck am I going to get on the mic for? I'm literally giving you nothing. I want my art to give you something. But for me, it's easy for me to forget the craft because I'm so focused on giving you something. So what I want to do is I want to honor the craft. And this is the attempt to honor the craft. So that's just the first line, and that gives you a context for the rest of the verse. So what I want you to do is go back to the verse, listen to the verse, and see if you can catch some more wordplay in the verse. I appreciate every single person that has been tracking with me in this journey of creating content. I love you guys. I pray that God blesses you with some nugget of freedom, some nugget of truth that can change your paradigm and your perspective to live the life He has called you to live. God has called you to live a very specific and unique life, and I hope that you are empowered to live the life that He has made you to live. God bless.